Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. The failure by the Biya regime to repatriate the mortal remains of Cameroon's first president, Amadou Ahidjo, has been described as a serious political blunder, according to Francois de Borja Marie Evembe, a writer and one of the persons who witnessed and took part in the country's history. Describes this as a serious problem with damaging consequences in the political and socio-economic life and even socio-cultural life of the Republic of Cameroon. Highways across the country continue recording accidents, leaving several persons dead. At least 4 persons have died on National Road number 5 within the past few days. We'll bring to you details in this edition of the news. And out of the country, Chad military claims victory over rebels. Those were our top stories. We begin this newscast on National Road number 5, precisely in Melong, in the Mongo Division littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon, where at least 3 persons are reported dead in an accident which occurred a few hours ago. According to information streaming into a newsroom, that accident occurred at about 4:30 p.m. today, and several persons were wounded in that accident, and at least 3 persons have been reported dead in that accident which occurred earlier today on National Road number 5, notably in Melong, in the Mongo Division of the littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon. And that accident is the second occurring on the same highway within the past few days. Earlier at the weekend, some persons, at least 2, died on a similar accident on the same highway around Nkonsamba, still in the Mongo Division of the littoral region of the country. We'll be bringing to you images of those accidents in our subsequent news editions. Now we talk about insecurity in the littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon. Authorities, administrative and military authorities, stepping up efforts to ensure the security and safety of city dwellers in the town of Douala. This is what the governor of the littoral region, Samuel Dieudonné Vahadibois, told the press today, shortly after a security evaluation meeting here in Douala, and he dismissed information that had been circulating indicating that there was rising insecurity in the Dado neighborhood. He said that security officials are doing everything to ensure the security of the people in the Dado neighborhood and the rest of the city of Douala, and why not the littoral region. Now take a listen to the governor of the littoral region, Samuel Dieudonné Vahadibois.
Let me say that the city of Douala is hosting about 3 million inhabitants. So when you have a city like that, be sure that you can have some issues as far as security or insecurity is concerned. And I would say that we saw in our phones since yesterday or 2 days ago that a quarter called Dado is full of bandits, people that are using arms, taking you inside a vehicle and going with you for a destination or non-destinations. I'm saying that all this is not true because our forces are very relevant, they are working very well on the field. So Douala is calm. The second thing I can say is that 3 or 4 months ago, we had what they call the micro, just for a weekend. After that weekend, no way for people to behave like that. So I'm saying that when there is a problem of security, you have just to give a call to a commander, a brigade commandant, to a commissioner, to SDO, ADO, or even the governor will react. But when you want to give that information in WhatsApp, asking every family to be aware that the corner of Deido is not good one, people are dying there, they are killing people. When? So I wanted to assure our population that it's not true. We are working hand in hand with the populations, with the forces of law in the field. So I can assure one more time that we are going to make efforts so that in any quarter where there are people called bandits or what, they'll just go and catch them and bring them where they have to rest. So there's no insecurity situation in Deido.
The governor of the littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon, Samuel Dieudonné Ivan Hadiboa, speaking there shortly after a security evaluation meeting. He, of course, was meeting with top security officials of the region, evaluating the security health of the littoral region of the country. Now we're going to talk about what has been qualified as a serious political blunder by the Biya regime. This is concerning the failure of the regime to repatriate the mortal remains of the country's first president from Senegal to Cameroon. Amadou Ahidjo died in exile and his body has not been repatriated into the country. And according to Francois de Borja-Marie Evembe, historian, writer, and one of the persons who lived the history of the country from the Ahidjo period right up to the coming to power of the current president, Paul Biya, says that the failure by the Biya regime to repatriate the corpse of Amadou Ahidjo has left a serious political and socio-cultural impact on the country. For me, Anton Sander compares his views collected in La Vérité en Face, aired on Equinoxe Television yesterday.
Speaking on Equinoxe Television's flagship program La Vérité en Face, Francois de Borja-Marie Evembe, historian, writer, journalist and politician, says the Biya regime has committed a historic and monumental political blunder by failing to repatriate the mortal remains of Cameroon's first president, Amadou Ahidjo, to Cameroon.
Je viens de le dire, c'était une grossière erreur.
It was a monumental error letting Ahidjo die in Dakar.
An error which he blames primarily on President Paul Biya, the immediate successor of former President Amadou Ahidjo.
Le président Biya, pour nous, avait commis une erreur.
We think that President Biya should not have allowed Ahidjo, who was considered as his father, die in Senegal.
C'est pour ça que tout le monde le considérait Ahidjo. Il ne devait pas laisser Ahidjo mourir à Dakar.
Evembe, who was one of the then think tanks of the policies and politics of Cameroon, says Amadou Ahidjo deserved a better treatment, being the first ever president of Cameroon.
Le premier chef de l'État de ce pays avait droit à de la haute considération de tout le monde, à commencer par le nouveau.
The first president of this country deserved the most distinguished considerations from all Cameroonians, even if there were political differences along the line. All should have been forgotten at his death.
Mais le président Biya ne l'a pas fait. Il ne l'a pas fait.
An error which he believes could have been fixed upon the announcement of the passing away of President Amadou Ahidjo.
D'une erreur historique, on devait récupérer
a historic error we should have corrected, clean it, and keep on the better side of our history.
On devait le faire. C'était sur le plan historique, c'était quelque chose qu'il fallait faire.
Evembe says he and his collaborators foresaw the error even when Ahidjo went on exile to Senegal and came up with a plan meant to undo the error upon the announcement of the passing away of President Amadou Ahidjo. But the plan, according to them, was not accepted by the Biya regime.
Senga and I decided to correct the error if President Ahidjo happened to die along the line. We prepared the speech of the president, the protocol and the program of the transfer of his remains to Cameroon. All was in place, but when time was ready, we took the proposal to President Biya, who rejected it. Paul Biya did not just want the remains of Ahidjo back to Cameroon.
The failure to bring back the immortal remains of former President Amadou Ahidjo, which finally led to his wife also dying on exile, has created hatred, distrust, anger, and an invisible north-south dichotomy in Cameroon, according to Francois de Marie Evembe. The wounds, according to him, requires a lot to heal. Amadou Ahidjo, born in Garoua in 1924, was president of the First Republic of Cameroon from 1960 to 1982. He went on exile to France and later to Senegal in 1985 and lived till 1989 when he died.
Now to Kumba in the Meme Division, southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, where the divisional officer for Kumba 1 subdivision has urged Nigerian nationals living in the town of Kumba to be united and to continue respecting the laws of the land. He was speaking during an elective meeting of the Nigerian Union, a meeting that led to rest a 14-year conflict between Nigerian nationals in Kumba. Details in this report by Smanjik and Gabriel.
It was a tight city council hall this weekend as the Nigerian community in Kumba gathered to put to an end a 14-year infighting. Our fathers left us here in peace, and those just coming from Nigeria, instead of following our footsteps, they came with disorder. When our fathers left us here, they advised us to be peace crusaders, pay our resident permits and taxes, alongside assisting governmental actions. After 14 years of inactivity, it was in front of the representative of the senior divisional officer of Meme, Ntundong Shambalen, the Kumba 1 divisional officer, that Akpo Macmillian was handed powers to oversee the activities of the Nigerian community in Kumba.
Is to bring back the peace and love that used to exist among Nigerians in the 80s and the 90s. For over 14 years, we've had a situation whereby some members of the union took the union hostage and exempted majority of the Nigerians from their right to the union.
The divisional officer of Kumba 1 told the Nigerians to be always united no matter where they are.
Unity is far better than division. Work together, you will succeed. But if you work in diverse lands, you keep on having difficulties in organizing your business.
The new executives of the Nigerian community in Kumba have a mandate of 4 years.
Coming up, Charles Sekome takes a look at an issue concerning consumers in the Republic of Cameroon, and he says that most often than not, they are not protected, even though laws voted by lawmakers in Cameroon and promulgated into law by the head of state are well established in the country to protect the consumers, but the laws are not often respected. This is the subject of a book published over the weekend, the book titled The Principles of Consumer Protection. Details in this report by Charles Sekome.
In Cameroon, consumer protection is a legal right which was voted into law by the country's lawmakers in 2011. The law, in effect, applies to all transactions relating to the supply, distribution, sale, and exchange of technology, goods, and services relating to consumer protection. But this very law, stipulated by the country's lawmakers, seems not to be respected and enforced by some companies. Moreover, so many Cameroonians have not been educated on this law. It is to this effect that an author by name Alvin Longlam Boma has written a book entitled Principles of Consumer Protection, as she also believes that all Cameroonians need to be educated on the subject.
What the state can do is actually to institute consumer protection as a subject in all levels of its educational system. We think that information is power. Given what we've done tonight, launching a book, it gave the opportunity to inform those who were present about the basic rights that the consumer has in the marketplace.
Legal experts such as Barrister Nico Hale, who was also present for the book launch, think the manufacturers must guarantee the quality of their products.
The manufacturer must guarantee, must ensure that the goods that they put on the market are merchantable, are fit for consumption.
The same could also be said for Barrister Limen Nkwamwa, who also voiced out his discontent vis-a-vis the subject.
Companies they actually don't think of the quality and price of what they send out to the public. You see, we have companies like Eneo, we have companies like Camwater, whose services are of poor quality, and you see each time the people complain, they feel that they don't have a right to complain.
The launching of this book is an eye-opener for Cameroonians and is also aimed at educating the people on consumer protection. But the author of the book and many other supporters of this initiative still believe that the government should implement this subject in schools and curriculums.
And one of the lawmakers in Cameroon's lower house of parliament, Honorable Malumba Esembe of the Buea Urban constituency in the southwest region of the country, has been on the ground meeting his constituents, meeting the inhabitants of his electoral district of his constituency, finding out from them their challenges, seeking to know the different issues in their communities so that solutions can be provided in order to enhance their living conditions. Derijato reports from Boya.
The best way to be informed is to leave the situation.
In deciding on such a day when the weather is not very clement, to go around combing through all the neighborhoods of the constituency, it is because we know that there is no other way of understanding the problems that abound except by going on the field and seeing for oneself.
From mile 16 to Moleko, Tole to Buea Town, Honorable Malumba Esembe, Member of Parliament for Buea Urban constituency, is on the field, meeting the needy and assisting them based on their identified needs. Most of them here are old, some are physically challenged, and others are people displaced by the war in the Anglophone regions.
Who have decided to visit the Chubuin's family today, go with God's blessing. And you go beyond limits, you go beyond Cameroon borders, you go beyond parliamentarians.
This one-on-one provided the opportunity for the Member of Parliament to listen to their challenges. Coincidentally, it was break time when Honorable Malumba Esembe was passing through Ndongo, a neighborhood here in Buea, and these primary school pupils of GS Ndongo came to their Member of Parliament. To many here, this is the first time they are seeing their MP. Exchanging with them, the Member of Parliament for Buea Urban constituency told these kids of GS Ndongo that they are the future and they must start getting ready now.
Be good boys and girls in school.
Yes.
Take your schoolwork very serious.
Yes.
If you take it serious and pass all your exams, you will become even greater people than me, okay?
Yes.
Because the country needs you. You are the future of this country.
The Member of Parliament ended his fellowship and support campaign at the Buea Central Mosque at a time the fasting period is drawing to a close.
Honorable Malumba Esembe, Member of Parliament for Buea Urban, on the field, meeting with his people. Now to the north region of the Republic of Cameroon. Ibrahim El Rashidin Yerima Suleimanu is the new Lamido of Garwa. The election took place today and he came first among the 12 candidates. Meanwhile, Isaiah came second with just 2 votes. Ibrahim El Rashidin Yerima Suleimanu got 7 votes and he won the election. He's now the new Lamido of Garwa in the north region of the Republic of Cameroon. Now we're going to talk about Cameroonian students who are out of the country. They took to the streets in Tunisia protesting over what they consider as negligence and abandonment by the Cameroon government. Details with Innocent Azi.
These are Cameroonian students on scholarship demonstrating in front of the Cameroonian embassy in Tunisia over unpaid scholarship dues, some 3 years and others 4 years.
Nous sommes là pour revendiquer nos compléments de bourse qui ne sont pas arrivés depuis 4 ans.
Their demonstration recently is to say they are tired of endless barren promises. They are reclaiming their scholarship dues.
Tout à l'heure, j'étais avec le nouvel ambassadeur.
The new ambassador explains to me that we had to wait because he has relaunched the procedure. But 4 years now, they repeat the same song. We are above that. We are tired of hearing the same thing. We want a document that will give us an exact date for the payment of our accumulated scholarship dues.
Nous sommes prêts à rester ici et dormir ici.
The protesting students have vowed to even spend days and nights in front of the embassy.
Aujourd'hui, demain, après l'Aïd, tous les mois qu'il faudra pour avoir nos bourses.
They call on government of Cameroon to respect its promises and bring them out of the mess they are into right now.
4 ans, ils nous ont envoyés ici en Tunisie.
They
Ils nous ont dit qu'ils allaient nous donner des bourses, qu'ils allaient nous octroyer des bourses.
They will
Mais
grant
jusqu'à
our
présent,
scholarship
rien.
dues, but nothing has been done, and all our efforts to reclaim them, even at the embassy here, have yielded no result. The embassy tells us the problem is in Cameroon. Contacting Yaoundé, they say the problem is at the embassy here. Finally, where is the money? How do we live?
Nous, on vit comment? Alors, on appelle les autorités camerounaises à respecter leur engagement.
These frustrated Cameroonian scholarship students are now compelled to beg from Tunisians for their needs as their poor parents can no longer assist them.
On est obligé d'emprunter chez les amis.
We are obliged to borrow from friends without knowing when to repay.
De vivre sous l'aile des Tunisiens qui acceptent de faire certaines aides pour nous.
So far, Yaoundé has not yet reacted on this subject matter. Weeks back, Cameroonian students living in Algeria also demonstrated for same reason. At the moment, these stranded Cameroonian students in Tunisia expect prompt reaction from authorities so as to be able to continue their studies in absolute serenity in Tunisia.
A French researcher has praised the efforts of African governments in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic, comparing the number of deaths registered in Western nations. The Professor Philippe Parola, an infectiologist, says though Africa has poor health systems, the governments were able to apply the knowledge acquired during the fight against epidemics like yellow fever and Ebola. Immaculate Fogwe reports.
The World Health Organization, during the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic, had warned that Africa could become the next epicenter of the COVID-19 virus, given the poor health system. A French researcher, Professor Philippe Parola, a specialist in infectious diseases, believes Africa is rather playing the role of a good student as far as infections are concerned, given that it recorded lesser COVID-19 cases.
Aujourd'hui, quand on regarde ces chiffres à nouveau, eh bien la Belgique est...
A study shows that out of 100,000 inhabitants, 200 in Belgium, 90 in the United Kingdom, 156 in France, 136 in Sweden, 25 in Morocco, 14 in Congo, 10 in Mauritania, 7 in Algeria, 6 in Senegal, and 3 in Mali died of COVID-19.
Au nombre d'habitants qui est très nettement inférieur à ce que nous avons vécu.
The French researcher believes the low figures in Africa is because African leaders drew experience from other health crises like Ebola. He believes it made them keenly aware that failure to contain COVID-19 will be disastrous. So they focused on preventing COVID-19 importation by enhancing surveillance at airports.
Nos amis d'Afrique, que ce soit l'Afrique du Nord, que ce soit l'Afrique subsaharienne notamment.
I worked in Africa for several years. While there, I happened to be a frontline health worker fighting against epidemics like yellow fever and meningitis. The experience gotten from such epidemics helped African leaders to better tackle COVID-19.
De façon pragmatique, je pense qu'ils savent faire. Peut-être mieux que d'autres.
According to the World Health Organization, close to 5 million persons were infected with COVID-19 in Africa. Out of the 124,000 deaths recorded, 45% were registered in South Africa, which is one of the countries greatly affected by the virus. Professor Philip Parola thinks it is high time for the Western world to stop giving lessons to Africa. He went further to encourage African governments to equally encourage local researchers in their quest of coming up with herbal treatments.
In news out of Cameroon, following weeks of fighting, Chad's military has claimed victory against northern rebels. The conflict against Libya-based rebels provoked a crisis in the country when President Idriss Déby Itno died after being wounded on the front line last month. Military takeover led by President Déby's son led to protests on the streets in the country's capital, N'Djamena, and elsewhere in the country, and the rebel group said to have been defeated, says it is not aware of an end to the fighting. However, a victory parade took place in N'Djamena yesterday. Analysts say it was aimed at boosting the popularity of Chad's military at a time of great uncertainty in the country. Some onlookers cheered as soldiers returned from the front line in a parade of tanks and armored vehicles. At an army base, journalists were shown dozens of people said to be captured rebels. The president of South Sudan, Salva Kiir, has dissolved the country's parliament, paving the way for the appointment of members of parliament from opposition sides in the country's 5-year civil war. Activists and civil society leaders say the move is overdue. A peace deal signed 3 years ago states that almost a quarter of the MPs will come from the party of President Kiir's rival, Riek Machar. Majority of the 550 legislators will be from the governing Sudan People's Liberation Movement, SPLM party. South Sudan's Prime Minister will not be elected but instead nominated by different political parties. The conflict that erupted in South Sudan in 2013 caused one of Africa's worst humanitarian crises, with at least 380,000 people killed and millions forced from their homes. Now, for greater details, take a listen to the president of the Diaspora Forum.
It is long overdue. That is what everyone is saying, but it is better now than never. It has been, people have been waiting for this as one of the requirements of the real peace in South Sudan. So it has the unity government has been formed. But it was the agreement itself is very shaky because there are a number of other issues that have not taken place. One of them is the parliament where the opposition will be in it. And the other things, there are other issues that have not been taken care of, like a national constitution, like the economic development, like the transitional justice and reconciliation. So there are other issues that people are waiting for, and we hope that they will fall in place after this parliament dissolution. It will trigger some conflicts because some people might not be happy by the number given to them from the different parties that are signatory to the peace agreement. But to me personally, I think it is better that they fight it inside the chambers of parliament than fight it outside in the different regions and streets where people will suffer and be displaced. So I think this is a very good decision that everyone now who is not happy about the situation of politics in my country, South Sudan. As you know, you see, I am from Northern Sudan, but North Sudan and South Sudan, we are one nation in two different countries. So the peace in South Sudan is very important for us.
And that's it for the first part of this edition of the news on Equinoxe Television. Talking Point. It's up next. Our guest today is a member of Cameroon's lower house of parliament, Honorable Malumba Esembe, member of parliament for Boya Oban, southwest region of Cameroon. Honorable, you're welcome to the program.
Well, I'm humbled. Thank you so much for the invitation, Babila, and good evening to all your televiewers.
All right, you're coming all the way from Boya in the southwest region of the country. Tell us, what's the state of your constituency as of today?
Boya is doing fine in terms of safety and security. Denizens are going about their activities, exercising their fundamental human rights in all quietude. Economically, socially, and otherwise, the constituency, I would say, is very stable.
My 16?
Well, I was in my 16 on Tuesday, and it was so exhilarating, walking around freely, chatting and exchanging with constituents.
Have the non-state armed groups resigned from Boya?
Well, except you have information which I don't have, but if I could go around working with a host of teammates who accompanied me without any fear, and there was no incident, not just my 16, we went to Munya, Bitivanule out, Tole, and other places which in your own imagination could be trouble areas. It's to tell you Boya is fine. But you know,
those places have been trouble areas before, where
certainly they were
confrontations
but the fine thing is, today it's a thing of the past, and our expectation and the goal of our continuous striving is that everywhere else in the region and the sister region, like in the rest of the country, will be fine, so that we all can concentrate on the task which is ahead of building our country.
All right. Can Boya be considered today as a blue zone where reconstruction can start?
Yeah, certainly Boya, like most other areas in the region, and here I am speaking with the casket of a member of the regional committee of the presidential plan for the reconstruction and development of the southwest region. Boya is open, Boya is fine, and the denizens are only craving that the reconstruction should start. You know, so much was lost in the course of the crisis that we lived, and it is high time that we now get to rebuilding, doing it better, as the national coordinator of the plan, Minister Tasson, will put it.
In a recent statement, Senator Mbela Mokicha said for reconstruction to take place, the mines must be reconstructed first, and you have been talking with the people, discussing with them. When you get their reactions, do you have the impression that there is some reconstruction taking place in the mine in order to facilitate the reconstruction process and, of course, the return to total normalcy? Why not across the two regions?
Anyway, somehow you've just put the sense of the approach I took last Thursday and Friday as I was going on Boya. It's about strengthening cohesion while also boosting the resilience of our people. You know, the first step towards effective reconstruction is cohesion. Simply being that the more people feel that sense of belonging to the community and to the nation, the more they will participate and the more they will even perform. That is why my team and I elected not to do the classic method of inviting people to a venue to talk to them or give them donations as we did, but rather to go around, talk with them, show them that empathy which is there on our parts as representatives and as members of the majority which is in government in the country. And to tell you what, this was inspired, I would say informed, by the policy and the vision of our clairvoyant head of state, President Paul Biya. We have to galvanize the ideas and the talents of every Cameroonian out there to reconstruct our country. Mind you, this country, the foundation as was set by our forefathers, if you read even the preamble of the Constitution, is based on fraternity, justice, and progress. Fraternity means you go out there, you meet your brother, you meet your sister, both the underprivileged and the privileged. As a representative, you exchange with them so that you can effectively curb their ideas and their aspirations. That is what we did. And we believe that it is the necessary first step to this reconstruction and development we all are looking up to.
Many of the inhabitants of your constituency have certainly suffered some of the devastating and irreversible consequences of the crisis. What's their state of mind as of now? Are the wounds healing? Are they getting to shift away from the pains, the sorrow, and the frustration to start thinking somehow positive, so to speak, that's possible total return to peace and normalcy?
Well, the consequences maybe were devastating, but not irreversible. There is plenty of hope in the horizon. That's why even
those who have lost loved ones, they will never see them again. That's what I mean by irreversible.
Exactly. That's why you see, if you followed keenly from your correspondent on the ground, what we did, and permit me in 1 second to appreciate my alternate, Madame Nanga, Georgina Sanga, and the rest of the team who were with me. The action actually was faith-based. We worked with some pastors who are the ones who identified these needy persons in the community, likewise with the Imam of the Boya Central Mosque as concerns the Muslim community. Faith, because like I happened to say while on the field that day, faith is what has always enabled us as humans, individually or collectively, to overcome challenges. Faith is what has always made us to look up to a future we don't know about. Last February, 55th edition of Youth Day, the head of state, President Paul Biya, in his address to the youths, told us to have faith in a Cameroon where all of us can work for the general interest. Faith, faith, faith. Without faith, we are nothing. And that's why I say it is not irreversible. The people in this constituency, like most of the region and the sister region, are resilient because they have faith not just in their belief systems, but also in their country. That's why, fortunately, the bond, the center, is still standing and will remain one and indivisible.
What are some of the things that they told you? Those mothers, fathers, children, what are some of the things that they told you?
Basically, for most of them in Boya, what cut across is the issue of water. Water supply is problematic in Boya. Most of them lamented about this. Most of them also spoke about security, expressing content that things are now fine and wishing that it stays this way. I also saw for myself, besides what they told me, problems of water drainage. On that day it was raining very seriously, and I remember around Ndongo I saw some of the flood waters for myself. Some of the state of some of the roads within the city are not so good. Traffic too has become a big problem in Boya because of the influx of our brothers and sisters who have been internally displaced. These are a couple of the issues I met. I remember, like in Tole, I also had the chance to stop by the primary school, and I saw for myself firsthand some of the problems there, both in terms of the infrastructure of the school and in terms of the neediness of the kids. Most of the people come to school and their parents are not able to afford. Now, what is important, you know, like I happen to have mentioned on Saturday when I was talking to journalism students in UB on the sidelines of West Press Freedom Day, we have a collective responsibility to be generous. You must not be a representative member of parliament before you can extend the hand of fellowship to a brother. I told the students in UB, for instance, that you can also go and offer a book to your brothers and sisters in Tole. We are not denying the fact that we are a country which is still emerging, and this means we have problems. Even the ones which are considered developed have problems.
All right,
we have to work together to solve
We
them.
have some few seconds to go, but before that, we have been seeing Honorable Malumba doing some things that people at your position don't often do. We don't often see them doing. I remember before your election, if my memory does not fail me, we saw you washing cars at the washing point, and just a few days ago, we saw you carrying a bag of rice. So that in those images, stepping your feet into some kind of runoff and so on. What's the message you're communicating there? Is it some sort of a one-man show or a strategy?
Far from that. I made a pledge during my campaign. I was here, I remember, to talk on my manifesto, and the first thing I said, it was a promise to be a best friend to every inhabitant of the city of Boya. A friend means you are there. A friend in need, a friend indeed.
A friend in need, a friend indeed, and a friend who is always present. But we will not separate with you like that, because you are the president of the Pan-African or the Parliamentary Network of MPs for Road Safety. In just some few seconds, with the permission of my technicians behind the cameras, a reaction on the accidents recorded these days on National Road number 5. We have about 6 persons, close to 6 persons who have died on that highway. Some died just today.
Each time it happens, it is sad, and we use this opportunity to express our deepest sympathies to the families of the bereaved, and also encouragements and our best thoughts to the survivors. Now, I must tell you that the day-to-day management of policy on road safety is that of the executive, led by the Ministry of Transport and other departments which are involved. As a network in Parliament, let us be clear that our task basically is to accompany the government in fighting this scourge through catalyzing legislative reforms and also indirectly and directly controlling government action. This is what we were able to do during the last session in March, precisely on March 23rd, where we used the platform